There's no such thing as work-life balance. None!
Just fucking do it. Subscribe now.
But when you get out there, the first few times, because you're going to be nervous, first few times, but you're not there to explain. You're not there to make the banker your lover or anything like that. If you can explain in 2 or 3 sentences, fine. If not, next. In London or in the UK, there's 650 banks. If you ask a farmer or a high school student, not high school student, a college student, how many banks, they'll say they're the 6 clearing banks. Because they're the ones that are on the street corners, Lloyd's, HSBC, etc. But there's 650 banks here that will do deals with you. In America, I stopped counting at 2,000. 2,000 banks. Now, probably in this room, you couldn't name 30 of them, 20 of them maybe. But there's probably over now, 2,000 banks. So there's no shortage. And the other thing we're going to talk about this morning is commercial banks are not our only conduit. Insurance companies, pension funds, and I'm not talking about the private equity arm or of the various banks. Bank of America has a private equity. Almost all the banks have some form of private equity. It may not be called Bank of America Private Equity, but they own or control 3 or 4 private equity firms. Some of the big banks also have hedge fund extensions. So just because you call Bank of America and Bank of Chicago, but when they say no, you haven't called enough people. In fact, I used to have a automatic answer that you haven't called enough. I don't have to listen to your challenge, your problem. You haven't called enough. And when we started doing stuff with kids, maybe 10 or 12 years ago, they would come out and say, my results were directly related to my output. I never heard that from a man, a grown-up though. Only a kid, you know. If I made 100 calls, I got more results than if I only made 20 calls. It's pretty obvious when you think about it. But you don't want to hear that. Not you, but adults, grown-ups don't want to hear that because that means they're going to have to, one, they failed at what they were doing short term, and 2, they're going to have to work harder. But this is an output business, just like the outcomes of Netflix and Siemens. Fine, you can stay in Miami, you can stay in Mallorca, you can stay in Moscow. But on March 31st, at the close of business, you will have $45 million in revenue or you are unemployed. Period.